Yes, yes, yes. What's happening, people? This is my post-fight reaction to Canelo against Callum Smith. The fight has literally just ended, and Canelo has taken a wide points victory over Callum Smith. Very dominant. He, controlled. Let's talk about the fight, man. Let's talk about it before people come in. And when people do, just leave your comments as you do, and then I'll happily respond to them. But yeah, Canelo, very dominant over Callum Smith, man. He won a wide points victory. He looked like he was on the verge of stopping Callum Smith after the 10th round. However, fair play to Callum Smith for getting in there, man. He held on and he was able to survive the distance. But ultimately, I think from round one, Canelo was able to get in far too easily. The height difference didn't really make much of an impact at all. A lot of people were looking at that who were picking Callum Smith to win or thought that he might have a good chance. They thought that his height would be, a big factor in this fight. And ultimately it wasn't. I thought that Callum Smith, when the fight first, like when the bell went, he tried to take the center of the ring, and he tried for like the first minute and a half, 2 minutes, but then straight away Canelo just kind of just closed the range, and he was able to bang at Smith's body, and there was just no respect from Canelo, man. Callum Smith wasn't able to win Canelo's respect. He wasn't able to. I mean, he tried. He threw a lot of punches, but they just had no effect on Canelo. The ones that did land, and majority of them didn't. I mean, he showed great defense earlier on, and then when it became apparent to Canelo that he wasn't, like, Smith's punches weren't bothering him, he just literally was marching towards him, trying to chop down that tree. He was landing his fair share of punches up top, landed good uppercuts and solid shots. And then I just saw that Smith was a bit tentative with the punches that he was throwing, because the ones that he was landing on Canelo wasn't having an impact on him at all. So those of you guys that are in the chat, thank you for being here. Feel free to click the like button and share, subscribe to the channel. This is my post-fight reaction to the fight. Let me know what you guys thought about it, man. How impressed was you with Canelo Alvarez for able to get right up to Callum Smith earlier on and just dominate? I mean, he won on the cards, I believe it was like 118, 109 twice, and 117, 111 on the other card. So that sounds kind of accurate to me. Like I said, after the 10th round, I saw that Joe Gallagher said to Callum Smith, like, I'll give you one more round. Do you want me to stop the fight? And Callum Smith bravely, wanted to continue, and he went out on his shield. He managed to make it to the final bell. But in terms of this being an actual contest, yeah, it wasn't really that much of a contest at all. There wasn't that much respect shown from Canelo. What's going on to GBF Dada in the super chat? Thank you. He's put, what's up? Canelo won. Yeah, Canelo won. Wide points victory over Callum Smith. Pretty dominant. There were no knockdowns in the fight, but he was pretty dominant from minute one up until the last round. So Callum Smith gave a great, brave effort, and he showed a lot of heart in there. But unfortunately, I mean, he just wasn't on the same level as Canelo Alvarez. Big up to Pretty Boy Flizzy. Thank you for the comment. He's put, only woke up at round 6. Canelo won every single round for me. How would you score the fight out of 10? It wasn't really much of a contest, really. I thought Canelo was very good, and Callum Smith showed a lot of bravery, showed a lot of heart. So in terms of performance-wise, I think Canelo, you can't really fault him. I know he wanted the stoppage. I saw in the 12th round, he was really going for it. He was trying to get that stoppage, and there was some boos from the crowd, but I think that was literally because Callum Smith at this point was just trying to survive. So I think that Canelo's performance out of 10, got to give him a good, I got to give him like you got to give him like at least 7, 8 out of 10. I mean, he took on an undefeated fighter that was a lot taller than him. There was the Ring Magazine champion at super middleweight, and Canelo went in there and dominated him. So yeah, I got to give him a strong 8 for that performance. I think the only way how it could have really been improved was if he got the knockout. But Callum Smith was brave, but he just wasn't able to, be authoritative over Canelo at all, man. He wasn't able to land anything that kind of stopped him in his tracks. And like I said, as soon as Canelo kind of realized that none of the punches were bothering him, he just marched towards Smith. And it just shows how good Smith is, that he wasn't able to, he wasn't stopped. He wasn't even dropped in the fight. So I guess people will say that he went in his shell, he went in survival mode, but when you're not going to win the fight, I guess the next thing is to survive, really. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it, Pretty Boy Flizzy. Thank you for the comment. Don't forget to like the video, everybody that's in the chat right now, and continue to leave your comments. Let me know your thoughts on the fight. And yeah, where does Canelo go from here? Now, I'm not watching the actual interviews. I've just jumped straight on my live stream, so I haven't seen what Canelo said or who he wants next. But who would you guys like to see Canelo fight next? I mean, there are loads of contenders out there. You've got the likes of Billy Joe Saunders for one. You've got Caleb Plant. I think that would be a fantastic fight. You've got Benavidez. You know, there are loads of guys out there who Canelo can fight, and literally it's down to him. I mean, he's the money guy in boxing right now. He can pick who he wants to fight, and for this particular fight, he picked Callum Smith. And like I just knew. I mean, there was a lot of people saying about the height difference and that Callum Smith, if he uses his advantages in his height and his reach, he might be able to cause an upset. But those of us over here in the UK that have seen Callum Smith fight and know how he fights, he doesn't tend to box at long range very often. You know, he likes to mix it up. He likes to, try and get his guy out of there, and he likes to fight up close as well. So Canelo's team obviously saw this. They obviously knew that there'll be a way in for them if they did fight Callum Smith despite the height advantages. So yeah, I just think that it was a dominating performance from Canelo, man. He did what he had to do. And Callum Smith, although he was brave, ultimately was just not in the same class. Big up GBF Dada in the chat again. He's put, what do you think about the Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather? I don't really have too much thoughts on it, to be honest, man. It's not something that I'm really that interested in. I mean, obviously, I'll cover it on this channel, and I'll say my opinion on it, but it's not something that have that much of an interest in, if I'm really being honest. Pretty Boy Flizzy, thank you again for the comment. He's put, I'm seeing Spence attending the fight as well. Hopefully Spence versus Crawford next year, then Canelo 2022. Yeah, I saw Errol Spence in the crowd there. There was, what, 12,000 people in the crowd? I tweeted that earlier. Like, 12,000 people in the crowd. That's crazy, man. I know they do things different over in America, but it's like, what pandemic? There was 12,000 people in the arena, and they made a lot of noise for Canelo Alvarez. I mean, he's that big a star. But yeah, I mean, we can't expect anything like that sort of crowd over here right now in the UK. So yeah, Spence was there. Obviously, he would like to fight Canelo Alvarez. He spoke about it before. We need to see him against Crawford, though. That's what I want to see. Forget that Alvarez fight for now. If he was able to beat Crawford, then maybe he could move up the weight eventually. He's been speaking about it. He's been hinting about it. But at this moment in time, I just think Canelo is way too big for Errol Spence, man. Look what Canelo did to a big super middleweight like Callum Smith. Like, he just went in there and just dominated him. Do you think that Errol Spence will be able to keep Canelo off him? I think that's a bad fight for Errol Spence, man. We need to see him against Crawford. That's what I want to see. Maybe things will change. I mean, you put 2022 in there. He might have accumulated more weight since then. We don't know where Canelo will be at that point, but I think the main priority is definitely Errol Spence against Terence Crawford. I don't think the Canelo fight is a good fight for him. Big up Jamie Payne. What's going on, bro? And yeah, thank you for your comment. He's put, wants to unify at super middle, beats everyone at that weight, in my opinion. Complete shutout tonight. Yeah. Oh, that's what Canelo said after the fight, yeah? He said he wants to unify at super middleweight. Well, yeah, I mean, this looks like it's going to be his division to stay in. He seems to be comfortable at this weight class. He's obviously, in terms of like height, he's going to be shorter than most of these guys. But as we saw today, it don't really make much difference, man. I mean, he's just going to go in there and fight his game. I mean, he's a world-class fighter. I'd love to see him against Caleb Plant. I don't know what you think, Jamie, but I'd love to see Canelo and Caleb Plant get it on. I think that would be a fantastic fight. Benavidez would be a fantastic fight. Billy Joe Saunders has the belt. Maybe he'll be put in a position to fight Canelo next year. I hope so. I hope so. I think that Billy Joe, with his style, will be able to present some sort of problems for Canelo. I don't think that he beats him, but I think that if he's on his game and he's motivated and he has enough time to train and he's in shape, I think that he can give Canelo a good fight. But yeah, it's going to be hard. I mean, do you guys pick anybody out there to defeat Canelo right now? I mean, is there anyone out there at super middleweight that you think, yeah, he's got a great chance or he could do it? For me, I think that he's a favorite over everybody, but I think that Caleb Plant would be, that would be a good fight. And that would maybe be the one that poses Canelo some sort of problems. But yeah, just my opinion. GBF Dada again in the chat. Thank you for your comment. He's put, do you think that the modern Canelo would beat the modern Floyd Mayweather? No, I don't think so. I think that, I guess it's hard to say because obviously Canelo's moved up the weights, but I just think Mayweather's style will always be, a problem for Canelo Alvarez. I mean, he would be able to, walk towards Mayweather and march him down. There'd be no threat of like him being hurt. But I just think that with Mayweather, I mean, he was so good. I just have to pick him over Canelo, man. As good as Canelo is, I just think Mayweather's got the style to always give him problems. Pretty Boy Flizzy, thank you for the comment. He's put Spencer's way too small. Yeah, I tend to agree. And then Victor Velasco, what's going on? Thank you for the comment. He's put stop it, Canelo whoops him. And he said that Caleb Plant is too soft. Well, yeah, I mean, let's see it, man. I think Canelo Alvarez is a fantastic fighter, man. I just think that Caleb Plant has the style potentially to give Canelo problems for sure. And Victor again in the chat, he's put David Benavidez whoops Caleb. Let's not get stupid. Well, let's see it, man. I want to see it, bro. That's all. That's all. I want to see the fight. Yeah, they were talking about it. Obviously, you don't really have much respect for Caleb Plant. You don't really rate him too highly. We've got Jamie Payne in the chat again. He's put Plant is definitely his toughest fight at super middle. Billy Joe fight will happen next. I think, yeah, I could see the Billy Joe fight happening in the new year for sure. How do you guys see Billy Joe Saunders' chances against Canelo Alvarez? I mean, he's similar. I mean, he can box like Caleb Plant can. He's got a great foot game. And like I said, if he's on his game, he has the potential to cause Canelo problems. But I just think Canelo Alvarez, man, I mean, he can adapt to any style. He's just fantastic defense-wise. He's fantastic offensively. And he punches with authority, man. I mean, he's just a fantastic fighter. So it's going to be very difficult for anyone to beat him. I'd have Canelo favorite over everybody at super middle. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see like who like he does fight next and what does happen. So big up Victor again in the chat. Thank you for your comment. He's put, who has he beat? David Benavidez has beaten tougher guys than Caleb. And he's put David is young too. So yeah, that's true. And then he's put GBF Dada in the chat. Thank you, bro. He's put, imagine if Canelo collabs with Johnny Sins. Victor Velasco again saying, yeah, Caleb Plant. Yeah, he's fighting Caleb Truax, isn't he? I just saw that fight was announced over the last week or so. So yeah, I mean, Truax ain't, I mean, he's, he beat James DeGale, but in terms of like world level, he's not there for me. He did pick up a world title when he beat DeGale, but then he lost the rematch. And then, yeah, I just think that Caleb Plant, yeah, I mean, I'd like to see him fight somebody else before he takes on Canelo. I don't think that Truax is like going to be the sort of prep that he'd need. But I could see Canelo fighting Billy Joe Saunders next anyway. I think that could be the fight that he goes for. We'll see what happens, man, especially considering that Billy Joe Saunders is under the Matchroom banner, under the DAZN banner, as is Canelo, I suppose. So, yeah, let's see what happens, man. Pretty Boy Flizzy in the chat, thank you again. He's put, I think Canelo is just levels apart from his competitors. Only Triple G is his match at middleweight. I think Canelo probably beats Benavidez. Great fight, man. Triple G in action, obviously, on Friday night. What do you guys think about that? What do you think of Triple G's chances? I mean, he could move up in weight and fight Canelo for sure. He's a big middleweight, Triple G. He's always flirted with the idea of moving up, and I'm sure that he would be up for fighting Canelo again. How do you guys see that fight? I mean, if Triple G was to fight Canelo in the new year, what do you guys think about that? Do you think that that's a real possibility? Do you think that Triple G has a chance in the third fight? I mean, a lot of people thought that he was robbed in the first fight. Second fight, more people tend to give that to Canelo. But could Triple G be the guy? I mean, interesting. GBF Dada, thank you again for the comment. He's put, I like your live, bro. I'm a subscriber. Hey, big up, man. Big up, bro. Like I said, I mean, we're just I haven't got that many subscribers on here, but these are the sort of things we're going to be doing now, going live after the fights. And yeah, everybody that's in the chat, just feel free to click the like button, share that video, subscribe to the channel, and then hopefully we'll get up there, man. But I'm glad I've got a new person who subscribed to the channel, and look forward to interacting with you over the next few fights, man. I mean, we've got some great fights coming up as well. Ryan Garcia and Luke Campbell, that's going to be a great fight. And we head into the new year, positive, man. So thank you for subscribing, and respect for the comments, bro. Yes, sir, in the chat, what's going on, man? Hope you're well. He put, what was up with Andrade running his mouth? You think he has a chance, Lowdown? What, you mean against Canelo? I think Andrade was just out there just trying to make himself, known. Like, he knows that there's going to be a big crowd watching this fight. He knows that, he needs to get himself out there even more. I mean, he is an outspoken character anyway, Demetrius Andrade, but I'm sure he just wanted to take the opportunity here to, get himself out there, put his name in the mix. I think that he'll be fighting Billy Joe Saunders next, but, if the Canelo fight was to ever come around, he'd jump at it, but with Canelo saying, like I said, I haven't seen the post-fight interviews yet, but going back to Jamie's comment where he said that he wants to unify at super middle, I guess that would rule Andrade out, isn't it? Because he's a middleweight. So I just think that Demetrius Andrade knows that there's going to be a huge audience watching on the zone and obviously in the crowd. And I think he's just trying to get himself out there. That's all. Does he have a chance against Canelo? I mean, he's got a good style. I mean, Demetrius Andrade, he's a very good boxer, but I don't think he beats Canelo. No, ultimately, no. Pretty Boy Flizzy, what's going on? He's put, has the zone launched in the UK yet? Yeah, we do. We do have the zone here in the UK, and that's where we watch the fight. As you saw, I'm not sure if you saw the same coverage as we did, but they did flick towards the UK broadcasting as well. So we did see obviously Chris Mannix leading the commentating, but then it kind of flicked towards the UK where we had Gareth Davis and Joe Calzaghe, leaving comments about the fight as well. So yeah, this was on the DAZN UK as well, and yeah, great streaming, great to watch it, man. Yes, sir. Again, he's put, you like Spence was at the DAZN card. You think there's anything to that? Nah, I don't think so. I think Errol Spence is loyal to Al Heyman, man. I can't see him, maybe crossing the border, going over there. It would make no sense either, because I mean, there are no unless he knows something that we don't about the Canelo fight, then yeah, I don't think so. I don't think there's much more to it. Errol Spence is from Texas. The fight was in Texas. I guess that he just wanted to have a front row seat. I mean, he just loves the sport himself. And yeah, I just think that he's probably just wanted to be there just to get, a ringside view of the action. So it's always good for, the broadcasters to have like big name superstar boxers at the fights. And, if Errol Spence is available, they're going to put him front row. So yeah, that's what I think about that. Ash in the super chat, what's going on, my bro? He's put, does Billy do better against Canelo than Smith? And does Billy beat Smith? Well, to answer your first question, I think that Billy Joe Saunders, does he do better again? I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I think like ultimately he might do. It depends what Billy Joe Saunders shows up. It depends what Billy Joe Saunders shows up, man. I think he does on terms of this performance. I mean, Smith was just dominated from round one, and I thought he was quite tentative. I think that Billy Joe, while he doesn't have the sort of power that Callum Smith does, I think that he has, great fleet of foot. He has the style to frustrate Canelo Alvarez, and I think he'd box completely different. I think he'll give Canelo some different looks in there. And I'm not saying that he beats him, but I think that Billy Joe Saunders does have the potential to do better against Canelo than Callum Smith for sure. Like I said, man, I don't want to shit on Callum Smith too much. I thought that Callum Smith tried. I mean, he did give up a good effort, but ultimately, Canelo was just on another level, man. Does Billy Joe Saunders beat Callum Smith, to answer your second question, man? Good fight. I always thought that I always had Billy as a slight favourite over Callum Smith, even before this defeat for me. But again, Billy Joe Saunders, his thing is we don't know we don't know which Billy Joe Saunders is going to show up. Do you know what I mean? It depends really, but I think that the best Billy Joe Saunders and Callum Smith, I'd slightly favour Billy Joe, but it's a good fight. It's a close fight, man. And maybe with this fight with Canelo, I mean, hopefully it hasn't taken too much confidence out of Smith, and hopefully he can fight on. Let me know what you guys would like to see next for Callum Smith as well. Any people from the UK in the chat, let me know what you'd like to see next from him and where does he go from here. It was a bit of a beatdown that he suffered against Canelo, to be honest. Hopefully that hasn't taken too much of his confidence and he can go back to the drawing board and maybe fight again in 2021 for sure. Yes, sir, in the chat, what's going on? He's put, how much do we pay for the zone? Well, we're only paying £2 a month. We're only paying £2 a month for the zone here currently, so it's not expensive for us at all. Yeah. Yes, I mean, trying to fight Canelo. Oh, you mean Errol Spence? Yeah. Well, if the fight presented the opportunity, then I'm sure, like, of course, he'll take it. But it's just not a good fight for Errol Spence right now, man. I mean, he needs to fight Terence Crawford. That's what we want to see. We want to see him against Bud. I know we look very good against Danny Garcia, but at the moment, man, for me, Errol Spence does not beat Canelo, man. That's not a good fight for him, in my opinion. Pretty Boy Flizzy, what's going on? He's put, yeah, I have a feeling Spence will fight Canelo down the line. Yeah, he's been talking about it. I've seen a few, he's come out in, I saw, what was it, an article in Boxing Scene. He was saying that he wanted to fight Canelo, and he said it before as well. So he's always kind of thrown it out there that, Canelo Alvarez was a target for him. And I guess I can understand where he's coming from. I mean, Canelo is, the pound for pound king right now, according to many. you know, they're both like Canelo, he can get a big crowd in Texas with the Mexican following. Errol Spence is based in Texas. So imagine how huge that fight would be. I mean, both of them are superstars in the sport. So yeah, of course, Errol Spence would want to fight Canelo down the line. Me personally, I just don't think it's a good fight for him. That's all. I think Canelo's way too big. I don't think that Spence will be able to, you know, I don't think he'll be able to get Canelo's respect. And I could just see Canelo marching him down. And that's me saying something because I'm a big fan of Errol Spence and I really enjoy watching him fight. But in terms of him against Canelo, I have to go with Canelo, man. Have to go with Canelo. So big up everybody in the chat. Just comment to all you guys' comments now. A lot of comments here. I'll get through all of them while I'm here. So thank you guys for the comments and showing love. Don't forget to click like and share and subscribe to the channel. David Smith, what's happening, man? He's put, what do you think Smith does now? Well, like I said, man, I mean, there is a big fight over here in the UK for him with Billy Joe Saunders. I don't know. I mean, Billy Joe will obviously want to go for the Canelo fight right now. But yeah, Smith just needs to go back to the drawing board. I don't know. I thought the tactics from Joe Gallagher today, man, I thought they could have been a bit better with, you know, the game plan for Callum Smith, because in the first round, he conceded ground for me. He conceded ground in the first round. And I don't want to be too critical of him because, you know, he put up a brave effort, man, and he took his bumps and he managed to survive. But I just thought that he could have used the jab a bit more, you know, earlier on, tried to establish his dominance. He did take center of the ring as soon as the bell went, but then he conceded that like midway through the first round. And then it was literally just Canelo from there. And yeah, I think they just need to go back to the drawing board, try and get another fight out there as soon as he's able to. And, you know, try and stay active, man. You know, I mean, there's no disgrace in losing to Canelo Alvarez at all. So, you know, he would have learned a lot from tonight. And he's only 30 years old. I mean, like, he's just lost his titles, but he can come back, man. I do like Callum Smith. And, yeah, he can definitely come back. Super middleweight division is a very good division. I mean, there are some good champions out there and, you know, good contenders out there as well. So I think it's just important for the team to just go back to the drawing board, you know, write this one off. You know, they lost to the best fighter in the sport. And, you know, maybe try and get the Billy Joe fight, maybe try and get a big fight domestically. I mean, John Ryder will surely want another crack at it. Maybe he might want to go that direction. So, yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what he does from here as well. My guy, Ian Hamilton, what's happening, man? Thank you for the comment. He's just put Canelo just one step ahead of Smith completely. There are levels to this game, and we saw it tonight. Yeah, absolutely, man. That's literally how I saw it as well. Canelo was just one step ahead. And like I said, there were a lot of people that were before the fight saying, oh my gosh, this height advantage, you know, like, oh, I don't know, man. I think that Callum Smith might be able to do Canelo. Look at the height advantage. But don't you think that Canelo and his team knew what they were coming up against? They knew about the height advantage. They knew about the reach advantage that Callum Smith had. You know, Canelo's got a very strong team around him. And he's got a great trainer there in Eddie Reynoso. So they would have saw what Callum Smith does, and they would have known what they had to do. And they picked him. You know, they handpicked him. This wasn't no mandatory challenger. This fight wasn't forced on Canelo. They picked Callum Smith, man. So they knew exactly what they were going in the ring against. And it showed. I mean, it was a dominant victory. And I thought that Canelo was quite disappointed that he wasn't able to get the stoppage, man. He was quite disappointed. So we saw what he wanted to do. And he pretty much did everything he wanted to do other than stop Smith. And that's credit to Smith, you know, because it just shows how tough he is. And, you know, he fought till the end. So, yeah, totally agree with your comment there. Canelo was just one step ahead of Callum Smith tonight, man. Big up my bro, Jamie, in the chat again. He said that Smith said he will move up now. Oh, did Callum Smith say he'll move up? What, to light heavyweight? Very interesting. I haven't seen that. I'm going to have to check that out after. But Smith said he will move up now. Amazing he makes 76 kilograms at 6'3". Yeah, it's crazy how Callum Smith can make super middleweight, man. Interesting, guys. I didn't know that. Literally getting that news right now. I'm going to have to watch the post-fight interviews. But Callum Smith at light heavyweight, I mean, it doesn't really get much easier up there when you look at some of the guys at light heavyweight, man. But maybe he'll feel more comfortable at the weight. He is a huge super middleweight, man. And yeah, maybe he might feel more comfortable at that weight. But like I said, light heavyweight over here in the UK and in America or abroad is a very tough division, man. Over here in the UK, you've got the likes of Joshua Buatsi, you've got Callum Johnson, you've got, you know, Lyndon Arthur, Anthony Yard. You know, we saw Craig Richards on Friday look very good in winning the British title. And then obviously, like, world-class wise, we've got the likes of Beterbiev, you've got Bivol, you've got, you know, Kovalev still there. You've got loads of guys, man. I mean, it's a very, very tough division, but at least it opens up the options for Callum Smith, man. I mean, he's reigned at super middleweight. He might feel more comfortable at light heavyweight. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. So thank you for letting me know that, Jamie. I didn't actually know. So wow, Callum Smith at light heavyweight. Yes, sir. In the chat, he says that I agree. Big up, bro. GBF in the chat. Thank you again. He's put, I think Canelo would rock Spence. Yeah, so do I. I don't think that's a good fight for Errol Spence right now. But listen, maybe in a year or two, Spence might have moved up in weight, might have adjusted to the weight. But Canelo's just too big, man. I mean, Canelo's fought as high as light heavyweight, and he knocked out a light heavyweight. I mean, what can Spence do to beat Canelo? I mean, it'll be difficult, man. And Spence is a world-class fighter. I don't want to shit on Errol Spence, but I just think that Canelo is, I think that's a bad fight for him, in my personal opinion. So Jamie in the chat again, he's put Spence always mentions Canelo or Pac. Obvious what he's chasing, needs to worry about Bud. Exactly. I want to see Errol Spence against Bud, man. I don't want to hear this talk about Spence against Canelo. I understand why he talks about Pacquiao, but I want to see him and Bud. Like, forget the whole Canelo thing right now, man. You've got a guy in front of you that's a formidable fighter, probably the rival to Canelo's pound-for-pound throne in Terence Bud Crawford, who has a belt at welterweight himself. I'd like to see Errol Spence focus on that fight. I mean, Canelo, maybe like the other guy said, it could be an option in 2022, but I wouldn't look past Terence Crawford, man. I'd be fully focused on that. So, yeah, let's see what happens with that. Thank you, everybody, for leaving your comments, man. I really do appreciate it. And don't forget to click the like button, share the video, subscribe. I'm going to be here for a bit longer answering you guys' comments. This is my post-fight reaction to Canelo dominating Callum Smith, man, over 12 rounds, looking very good in the process and, just showing no signs of weakness at all. I mean, even at 30, he's been boxing for how long, Canelo? And he's still just looking as good as ever, man. So just goes to show how good he really is. But big up Pretty Boy in the chat again. He's put, agree, Ian, it really showed. I think the only way to beat Canelo is you need a lot of power or excellent movement. If you ain't got either, Canelo will walk you down. Exactly, man. And who's got that? I mean, who's got that? I mean, who would you guys say in the chat right now is in the best position to defeat Canelo Alvarez? I mean, would he have to go up to light heavyweight and fight somebody like Beterbiev? Or do you think that maybe like someone that super middleweight can do it? Do you think somebody like a Billy Joe Saunders or a Caleb Plant could beat Canelo? Or do you think that somebody who is as big and strong as Benavidez and as active as him and can punch as hard as him, do you think that he'd be the guy to do it? Yeah, very interesting, man. It's tough, but Canelo is just looking, fantastic right now, man. Looking very good. So thank you for the comment, but we'll just carry on here. Yes, sir, in the chat again, he's put, he seems like he'd rather fight Canelo than Bud. A little suspect like Mikey did with him. Yeah, I mean, Canelo is the bigger money fight, of course, but Bud is the fight that we want to see. Let's see that fight, man. I'm not interested in Spence against Canelo. I want to see Spence against Terence Crawford. That's what we want to see, man. Forget the Canelo fight right now for me. Yes, sir. Again, he's put, I like Spence, though, so don't get the wrong idea. Yeah. Oh, I like Spence as well. I'm a big fan of Errol Spence, man. When he came over to the UK to fight Kell Brook, I'll be honest with you guys, I went to go and watch that fight, and I was rooting for Errol Spence. And a lot of people over here didn't really know much about Errol Spence then, but I did. I was a huge fan of him. And when he came over here to fight Brook, I love Kell Brook as well. But I've always been a big fan of Errol Spence, man. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of his. And, yeah, I just want to see him fight Bud. I don't want to see the Canelo fight. Big up Shailene in the chat. Thank you for the comment. He's put, the only fighter that troubles Canelo between 160 175 is Beterbiev, in my opinion. Yeah. What about Triple G? Do you think he could be, do you think he could pose any problems? I mean, he did look good on Friday night, but others are saying that he's lost a bit of a step. I mean, I think he's lost a step at 38. He wasn't able to beat Canelo officially on the two cards, on the two fights that they had previously. So, yeah, it's difficult, man. I mean, Canelo could have an off night, maybe. I mean, time does catch up to you, but at the moment, there's just no signs of like Canelo really slowing down. I mean, he's just looking fantastic even now. So, Beterbiev, yeah, that would be the fight where I'd probably maybe have Beterbiev as the favorite. But then even that, like, I don't know. I just think that Canelo is just so good, man. Yes, sir, in the chat again, he's put, you need like a prime James Toney to beat the current Canelo for sure. For sure. Yeah, James Toney is the kind of style that would give Canelo problems, man. By the way, it's a shame Toney didn't get inducted in the Hall of Fame this year. Yeah, it is a shame. Him and Miguel Cotto were the the two people that were, that were excluded from that list that we thought might have been on there. It was a very strong list of potential inductees, and obviously there's only a certain amount of people that can be inducted on the first ballot. And when you look at it, I mean, you can't really argue it too much, can you? You've got Mayweather, you've got Ward, you've got who's the other, Klitschko, and it's just hard. I mean, but I'm a massive fan of James Toney. I loved watching him fight, and hopefully he does get in with the second ballot, man. But at the first ballot, it's hard to look above those three. But yeah, I do love watching James Toney. Him and Canelo would have been a great fight, man, for sure. Him and Canelo would have been a great fight. You know what would have been another great fight? Andre Ward against Canelo Alvarez. That would have been a great fight, man. How would you guys have seen that? How would you guys have seen Andre Ward against Canelo on this sort of performance of super middleweight? IB in the chat, thank you for the comment, my man. He's put, on a level playing field with judges, Billy Joe has the best chance versus Canelo. I think that it just depends on what Billy Joe shows up, man, because he's been inconsistent with his performances. And if he can perform anything like the level that he did against, the likes of David Lemieux, for example, that has the potential to cause Canelo problems. Styles do make fights, and Smith was a completely different style to what Billy Joe Saunders would fight Canelo. Great fleet of foot. I don't think he has the punch to really trouble Canelo, which will be the problem. I mean, Canelo will be walking him down, but Billy Joe will have to just be on the back foot, like boxing brilliantly, like he did against Lemieux. Whether it will pay off, I'm not sure. Like I said, with the judges as well, Canelo seems to have them in his favor, even though he didn't need them tonight. But I think with the judges, Canelo, we've seen in the past like some scorecards where they've been quite dodgy. But the likes of Erislandy Lara caused Canelo trouble. Austin Trout boxed well against Canelo. I mean, this was albeit a good few years ago now, so Canelo's definitely adjusted to that. He's definitely got better. But that sort of style could give him problems. I agree with you. I agree. And I think Billy Joe will be motivated, man. He really will be. Big up the deal. Thank you for the comment. He's put, geez, I only gave Smith a 30% chance, but I expected a bit more. Canelo is just too good. You know what? And I don't want to be critical of Smith, man, because he put up a great effort. He tried, but I expected more as well. I'm going to be honest, man. I mean, I expected a bit more. Maybe that's because I know how good Callum Smith is, but it's different from us saying it than from him going in there, like against Canelo. I mean, I just thought that Callum Smith would be, a lot more. I thought he used his jab a lot more. I thought that he would, maybe give Canelo more looks, not allowing him to come in as easy as he did. Because like I said, from the first round onwards, Canelo got inside, man, and I was just like, this is way too easy. He just got in there so quick. I thought that maybe Callum Smith might keep it long for, a little while, try and land something to get his respect, and then go from there. But Canelo was just able to get inside very early, man. And I agree with you. I had Canelo the favourite all along, and I just thought that Smith might have made it a bit more difficult. But I don't want to criticize Smith, man. It was just the guy was just better. He was just better than him. IB in the chat again. He's put Billy Joe. I'm guessing that's who gives Canelo the toughest fight. We've got another comment here from Yazur. He's put Dimitri Bivol. That's a very good fight. Yeah, I'd love to see Bivol against Canelo as well. That fight could be made. Bivol fights under the DAZN banner. And I'd love to see that fight, man. Bivol, yeah, he's a big guy, light heavyweight, very good himself. I'd like to see that. But again, if Canelo's going to stay at super middle, then I can't see it happening. Adil in the chat again, and thank you for the comment. He's put Smith style played was tailor-made for Canelo. It was. And I think that's what Canelo saw. Remember, they picked this fight. They picked Callum Smith. So they obviously knew what they were coming up against. They knew what they had to do. And it showed on the night, man. It showed. Loads of comments coming through, man. I'm going to get through all of them. Ian Hamilton, he's put, I get why Spence would want Canelo. He makes you rich. I just can't see how Spence troubles Canelo. Like I said, there's levels to this game. Yeah. I could see why Spence would. It's the money fight, isn't it? Canelo is the cash cow in boxing right now. You saw the type of crowd. Like I said, 12,000 people during the pandemic. You know what I mean? Crazy. But Canelo can do those sort of numbers. And like I said, both of them, well, Errol Spence lives in Texas. Canelo can fight outside of Texas. He's fought there a few times, right on the border of, the Mexican border. So, yeah, you can understand why Canelo fights there. Gets a huge crowd in. Errol Spence gets a big crowd himself in Dallas. But like you, Ian Hamilton, and like I'm sure everybody else in this chat wants to agree with me, Errol Spence and Bud is the fight. I don't want to hear this Spence and Canelo talk. I want to see Spence and Bud. That's what we want to talk about. So forget that fight, man. I don't want to see it. Adil in the chat again. He's put I'd edge Ward over Canelo Alvarez in that fantasy matchup. Yeah, be a great fight though. I'd pick Ward, but it's a great fight. It's a great fight, man. And Canelo, he's shown how good he is. But Andre Ward was fantastic, man. First ballot Hall of Famer, well deserved as well. And that'll be a great fight. Big up my guy Joe. Thank you for the comment, bro. Me and this guy we go a while back, man. So good to see you in the chat. He's put, still have an appetite for that Triple G trilogy fight. Closure on that chapter. First two fights were great as well. So why not? There's no one else out there. Well, if Canelo was, I haven't seen the post-fight interview yet, Joe, but I was told in this chat that Canelo wants to unify the titles at super middleweight. So that, I guess that will kind of leave Triple G out because he's still at middleweight. But maybe Canelo might have seen, Triple G's 38. He's lost a bit of a yard for me. Not too much. I thought he did look good. But yeah, I mean, it's an option out there. It would still be a big fight. I mean, it would still do good numbers. I could see it happening. But if Canelo is serious about unifying the division at super middleweight, I think that those fights there against Caleb Plant and Billy Joe Saunders, for example, those are the fights that Canelo might target. And I don't think they'll be that difficult to make. I think, well, Billy Joe wouldn't be difficult. Benavidez, he fights over there at the PBC, so it might be a bit more difficult. But Canelo he has that star power, man. And if he wants to fight someone, they'll take it. You know what I mean? Close fight, Ward versus Canelo. I'll edge Canelo, to be honest. Yeah, it's a good fight, man. It's a good fight. I'd imagine it'll be a great fight. But I just edge Ward. I'll just edge Ward in that one. I think that he has the style to, beat Canelo. He was a big super middleweight himself, eventually moved up to light heavy. Yeah, I think that Ward's style would give Canelo problems, but Canelo is a fantastic fighter, man. It's a close fight. I think we can all agree on that. Yes, sir, in the chat again, what's going on? He's put, I would have put Mayweather, Tony, Vlad, Cotto, then Ward if I had to pick. So is that I'm guessing that's for the Hall of Fame pick, right? Obviously, the inductees were announced last week. We had, obviously, it was Mayweather, Ward, and Klitschko in the top three. But you would have Mayweather, Tony, Vlad, Cotto, then Ward. I think there's only three, isn't there? Or is it four if you get over 80% of the vote, something like that? But yeah, the number of fighters in that list, man, I mean, it was hard. I mean, hard to pick. Well, it wasn't hard. Well, it wasn't hard to pick, but someone was obviously going to miss out. So yeah, it was a great level of competition there. But I don't think you could argue too much with the top three. But there are other guys like Cotto and Tony that deserve to be in there. And I guess it was harsh on them that they missed out. But it's just difficult, man, on that ballot. More comments coming through. Thank you, guys. We've got Adil here. He's put, in my opinion, Saunders at 160 pounds troubles Canelo, but still loses. 168 pounds, Saunders loses and doesn't trouble him as much. Yeah, his natural weight is obviously 160 pounds. He could forget fighting Canelo at that weight now. Obviously, Billy Joe Saunders has a title there at 168 as well. But against Lemieux, he was a middleweight, wasn't he, when he fought that fight? Billy Joe Saunders, he's not like a particularly imposing super middleweight. He doesn't have that ripped physique like Canelo. But, I mean, for his particular style, you don't need it. I mean, Billy Joe likes to operate on the back foot. He can fight as well. He can mix it up, but that wouldn't be a good idea against Canelo. Yeah, still a good fight, man. But, yeah, I have to agree with you on that. Adil also left this comment here. He's put, the John Ryder fight gave the blueprint. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, maybe I was texting my cousin during this fight, and I said that Canelo and his team probably watched that fight and thought, yeah, we'll go for this guy. And they just took it a step further and was able to dominate Callum Smith, man. Adil in the chat again. He's put, I'm still surprised at how good Canelo is. He's pound for pound number one, in my opinion. Do you guys tend to agree with that? Do you think Canelo is the number one pound for pound fighter in the sport? I mean, you've got the likes of Terence Crawford in there. You've got Nawa Inoue. You've got Alexander Usyk. You've got, Errol Spence in there. You've got Tyson Fury in there. Who's your guys' number one pound for pound? For me, it's got to be Canelo as well. I mean, he's my pound for pound number one. Look at the body of work that this guy has on his resume. It's unbelievable, man. Terence Crawford's up there for me as well. But I think that Canelo might just edge it, in my honest opinion. But yeah, he's my number one pound for pound. George, what's going on? Thank you for the comment. And he's put here, I would much rather see Charlo, Andrade, Billy Joe Saunders, or Plant over Triple G. Is that against Canelo, obviously? Jamal Charlo, yeah, for sure. These guys would have to move up, though, wouldn't they? Like Charlo and Andrade. They'd have to move up to 168 to fight Canelo, unless they could agree on some sort of catch weight. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Jamal Charlo. I think he's a fantastic fighter, man. Look, very good against Derevyanchenko. I'd like to see Charlo against Triple G. That's what I'd like to see. But I can see Triple G not really wanting that fight. He's going to want to go for the Canelo fight, of course. Andrade, he presents a good style matchup as well. Billy Joe Saunders or Plant. So yeah, you prefer all those guys over Triple G. You know what, George? I think I agree with you. You know, I think for me, as much as I do respect Triple G and how much of a great fighter he has been, I'd like to see somebody else have a go at Canelo. We've seen him fight him twice. He was unfortunate in the first fight not to get it. Second fight, Canelo was better in that fight and he won that one. But let's see Canelo against somebody else. Let's see him against, Caleb Plant or Benavidez or a Billy Joe Saunders or a Charlo, for example. I'd like to see that. But the Triple G fight makes sense money-wise. I mean, he's still a great fighter. He looked very good on Friday night. And there will be a lot of demand for it because Triple G has a big fan base himself. So you could see why that fight would take precedent over the likes of a Charlo or an Andrade. But I think that those fights are better. Could be tougher for Canelo at this point because I just think that Triple G at 38, Canelo knows what he's going up against. He's fought him twice, and he looks better than ever. Whereas Triple G, for me, has just lost a yard a little bit. So you never know, though. You never know. It's Triple G still a great fighter. A deal in the chat again. But to beat Canelo, you'd either need someone like a Triple G who can take the punches, very true. Triple G's got a fantastic chin, and who can dish punishment back, or someone who can move and has enough to keep Canelo hesitant. Yeah, Triple G has a fantastic chin, and he has the punching power to keep Canelo honest. But in the second fight, Canelo was marching towards Triple G as well. Let's not forget that. He was marching towards Triple G. He was taking the shots. Canelo's got a fantastic chin, man. You know, as great as his ability is as well, in terms of his defense, in terms of his offense. When you do land on him, he's got a great chin as well. So it's going to be difficult, man, for Triple G in the third fight for me. But yeah, I agree with you there. To beat Canelo, that's what you need. But it's going to be tough to beat him, man. It will be tough. He's put power here. Yeah, I know what you meant there. George, he's put, does Smith's record look better because he beat an injured, I'm not sure what he put there, an injured Groves? I've just seen your comment there with regards to George Groves. George Groves was, he wasn't 100% health-wise, but I don't really want to take that victory away from Callum Smith too much. He dominated George Groves in that fight. I was on the podcast with my dad over the last week, and he was saying to me that, there were some Smith performances where, he hasn't looked that great in. I mean, the Skoglund fight for one, he wasn't that particularly impressive in that. He wasn't particularly impressive against John Ryder. So as good as Callum Smith is, we need to give him the credit he deserves. I mean, he was the #1 ranked super middleweight in terms of the Ring magazine. He had that title, and he won the World Boxing Super Series, and he was undefeated. So, it's easy for us to put holes in his resume now, but I think going into the fight, he was fully deserving of it. He just came up against a better man. But yeah, Callum Smith is still a good fighter, man. Still a good fighter. Joe in the chat again. He's put, I agree with Adil. Billy Joe Saunders taking them Canelo body shots is an ominous prospect. Yeah, not a good look for me. That would be. I think if Canelo was able to get inside and land his body at work, I think that's a huge problem for Billy Joe, as we saw tonight against Callum Smith. Pretty Boy Flizzy in the chat again. He's put, yes, easily Canelo pound for pound #1. Been it for me since the second Triple G fight. I agree with you. Agustin Arriaga, thank you for the comment. He's put, those guys don't deserve a match with Canelo. They need to fight each other before asking a fight with Canelo. I'm guessing that you're talking about Andrade, Charlo, Billy Joe Saunders, and Caleb Plant. I'm guessing you're talking about those guys, bro. They're going to want it, aren't they? They're going to try and go for it. But who would you like to see him with Canelo next then? Would you like to be one of the super middleweight champions? Maybe Billy Joe or Caleb Plant? Be interesting to see what happens, man. Rasta Dad in the chat, what's going on, man? Thank you for the comment. He's put, I really thought Mundo had a chance, but man, Canelo showed his class. Yeah, he was just on a different level tonight, man. He was on a different level tonight. Um, I had Canelo as the favorite. I thought that he was, he knew what to do against Callum Smith, and I thought that he would be able to get inside and perform his body of work. But it was more dominant than I thought. It was more dominant than I expected it to be, man. When you looked at the height difference, a lot of people were getting a bit too excited for me when they saw that. They were just like, yo, Callum Smith, man, he's too tall for him. Look how big he is compared to Canelo. But, we know what Canelo's game is. Canelo picked this fight, and I thought that Smith, if he was able to, adapt to the game plan and, keep it at distance for a certain amount of time, then maybe he might have had, that was his best chance of winning. But when I saw that Canelo was able to get inside that quickly and that early on, it was a problem for me. It was a problem, man. Adil in the chat again, he's put, I'd love to watch him against Caleb Plant. I agree. For me, Canelo is the pound for pound king. Big up Ian in the chat. In terms of opposition, only Usyk can have a case. Canelo fights everyone and is never afraid of who it is. So yes, Canelo is the pound for pound king for me. Yeah, I think that Canelo is for me as well. In terms of I guess people are subjective as to what they base their pound for pound, requirements on. But for me, Canelo's got it all: resume, ability, longevity. He's just got everything, man. So yeah, he's pound for pound number one for me. I think Crawford is up there as well, but for me, Canelo's number one. Big up Adil again. Thank you for being in the chat for so long, leaving your comments, bro. Much appreciated. He's put, where does Smith go from here? 175. He could fight for the WBO belt or even challenge Bivol or Batabiev. Well, yeah, Jamie in the chat earlier, I don't know if he's still here, but he said that in the post-fight interview, Callum Smith was talking about moving up in weight, which is, it's amazing how Callum Smith is able to get down to super middleweight anyway with a 6'3" frame. He's able to just trim his body down. So yeah, maybe he will move up to light heavyweight, and it'll be interesting because there are some big fights to be made over here in the UK, and there are big fights abroad as well. So there's a lot of competition at light heavyweight. He won't be short of options at that weight class. So it's something different for him, but it'll be interesting to see what happens, man. That'll be tough, but he's got the frame to carry the weight. Will be interesting to see what his team do with regards to that. But yeah, who's the WBO champion at 175 now? It was Canelo, wasn't it? Yeah, of course, he beat Kovalev, but he's relinquished that belt, so maybe he might go for the vacant title there. Yeah, interesting. Big up Augustin in the chat again. He's put Canelo, I'm guessing that's the pound for pound he thinks is the pound for pound number one. Mexico, yeah. Are you from Mexico? Big up for being in the chat, man, and thank you for the comment. Canelo pound for pound number one according to you guys in the chat. George again here. He's put Canelo definitely showed his class tonight. Very impressive. Yeah, I was very impressed with him as well, man. Canelo was brilliant. He was always the favorite for me, but the way how he was able to dominate Callum Smith, man, shows his levels, man. A fantastic performance from him. And got another comment here. He's put, the comment is from Pimpin' Ain't Dead, went to the web. Big up, bro. Thank you for the comment. He's put, I'm suffering with COVID right now, and your videos and live soothe my mind. Salute, sir. Hey, big up, man. I hope you are all the best out to you, first of all, man. Sorry to hear that you're suffering with this disease right now. I'm glad that these sort of videos are making a big difference, man. And yeah, that's great to hear. Thank you for the comment, and get better soon. Just rest up. We've got some good boxing coming up, man. And yeah, thank you for the comment, man. Rest up, bro. Adil in the chat again. He's put, I'm shocked that Smith could ever make 168. Expected more, but I knew for a fact how easily Ryder got on the inside. Canelo would be able to do that and more. Yeah, that's how I looked at it as well. Callum Smith, as big as he is, the sort of dimensions that he has, he's not the best at boxing at range. He likes to mix it up. He likes to mix it up, and for good reason. I mean, he's got power, but when you're that tall and you've got that sort of advantage over everybody at that weight, I'd like to see use your jab a bit more and keep guys on the outside, man. But that's not his game. I mean, Callum Smith, he's able to do it, but he doesn't do it often enough for me. And he tried to do it against Canelo earlier on, but Canelo was just able to get inside far too quickly, and he was able to dominate, man. But again, thank you guys for being here. It's been a fantastic night of boxing again, and Canelo Alvarez dominating Callum Smith, becoming the #1 super middleweight in the world, picking up the Ring Magazine title, the WBC title, and he's obviously got the WBA title as well. So in order for him to become undisputed, he's going to need to fight Billy Joe Saunders. He's going to need to fight Caleb Plant, and that seems to be his intentions, judging by the post-fight interview. So let's see what he does. But yeah, I've been on here for about 50 minutes now, so I'm going to sign off. But thank you guys for the chat. Thank you guys for leaving your comments. It's been great speaking to you all. And if you guys are new to the channel, if you've just come across this channel, click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's try and get this video out there, man. I'll be doing a lot more live streams, and it's great to chat to you all. And yeah, we'll be back for the next one. I'll be back again on Sunday night. So yeah, Sunday night I'll be back, just kind of wrapping up what we've seen over the weekend. And yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Big up, David. We'll leave it here. He's put a thumbs up. Thank you, bro. And yeah, all you guys, man, have a good evening, have a good morning wherever you are. It's 6:25 over here in the UK right now. I'm not even going to bother trying to go sleep, man. I'm just going to try and stay up, I suppose, and catch some of these post-fight interviews. So respect to everybody in the chat. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Thank you for joining me, and enjoy the rest of your evening/morning. Big up, guys.